It is said that when the winds of the earth fall quiet, the ruins of Delphi are still alive with whispers. They carry on the breeze that dances through the cracks in the sacred stones, echoes of a time long forgotten, yet never fully gone. The moon, heavy and silvered, watches over them, casting a soft light that spills over the aged remnants of columns and broken altars, drawing shadows long enough to stretch across the hills and into the mists of time itself. The place is alive, though no living soul remains. Beneath the watchful eye of Mount Parnassus, where the earth meets the heavens in a quiet embrace, Delphi still hums, cradled in a silence that speaks only to those who are willing to listen. Among the fallen pillars and shattered stone pathways, there is a sense that something ancient still lingers, something old and wise, perhaps even forgotten by the gods themselves. The oracle of Delphi once breathed life into prophecy here, her words rippling through the air like the murmur of water over smooth stones. What was the true source of her visions? Was it Apollo, the god of the sun and music, whose breath carried through the temple and stirred the flames of divination? Or was there something darker, something older, that lay buried beneath the earth, waiting for the right moment to stir again? Some believe the true power of Delphi lies not in the divine gift of Apollo, but in the deep and hidden forces that whisper from the very heart of the earth, an energy that predates even the gods themselves. Beneath the altar, beneath the trembling ground, something stirs, ancient and eternal, waiting for the silence to fall and the moon to rise once more. The ruins speak in a language that cannot be heard by the ears alone. It is in the rustling of the leaves that flutter against stone, in the soft shifting of the earth beneath forgotten steps. The air is thick with the weight of memory, a memory that is carried by the stone, by the wind, by the very bones of the earth itself. Every whisper, every flicker of movement, seems to be a part of a great, unseen conversation, one that spans centuries but is felt in the quiet pulse of the present. The air itself hums with energy, a vibration that passes through the ruins like an unspoken prayer. The stars, watching from above, seem to flicker in time with the ancient pulse, their light soft and distant, yet intimately close, like the glimmer of a forgotten truth on the edge of waking. In this moment, the boundary between the world of men and the world of gods seems to blur, becoming less a divide and more a veil, thin and delicate, through which both realms pass with ease. Some say the oracle was a vessel, a conduit for the voices that came from deep within the earth. Others speak of the sacred spring, the Castalian spring, where water poured from the mountain and into the temple, carrying with it the divine breath of Apollo himself. And yet, as the years have passed and the ruins crumble in the soft hands of time, the truth seems more elusive. Was it really Apollo who whispered, or was it the ancient earth itself, speaking through the stones, through the wind, through the silence? What we know of Delphi is a story told in fragments, in echoes. We know of the temple that once stood in glory, its columns rising like great arms to hold up the sky. We know of the sacred Pythia, the high priestess, who would sit in the inner sanctum and, with the breath of the earth filling her lungs, speak the words of the gods. We know of the offerings left at the altar, the incense that would rise in the smoke to meet the gods, and the pilgrims who traveled from all corners of the ancient world in search of wisdom and guidance. Yet, like the ruins themselves, much of Delphi remains half-remembered, wrapped in mystery, where myth and history merge in an endless dance. As the night deepens, the soft rustle of the leaves becomes the only sound that breaks the stillness. The air, heavy with the weight of centuries, moves with a quiet grace, like a breath held for too long. The ruins, now softened by the dust of time, remain unmoved, yet they pulse with something ancient, something alive. The stones scattered, cracked, and broken hold stories that have yet to be fully understood. One can almost imagine the ghostly whispers of the oracle, as if her voice still echoes in the wind that flows across the temple ruins. Perhaps her prophecies are not so much lost as they are hidden, waiting for the right moment to emerge once again. Or perhaps, as time stretches further away, the true meaning of Delphi is lost to the wind and stone, left behind in the pages of forgotten history. In the dim light of the moon, the stone altar where the oracle once sat is now silent. The sacred fire that once flickered with divine light has long since died, leaving only the cold embers of memory. And yet, the earth beneath it all remains, patient and waiting. It is said that the ancient energies of Delphi are not gone, that they still pulse beneath the surface, waiting for those who are willing to listen. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps the truth of Delphi is not something that can be grasped in the light of day or by the hands of mortals. Perhaps it is a secret held by the earth, a secret that only reveals itself in the quiet, in the space between breaths, when the mind is open and the heart is still. And so, as the night lingers and the stars wheel overhead like ancient sentinels, we are left to wonder, what is the true nature of prophecy? What is truth in a place where the divine and the earthly meet, and where the whispers of the past echo through the silence, soft as a prayer, faint as a memory? Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. Some mysteries only unfold in the quiet spaces between the moments, in the places where time itself seems to pause. Perhaps the oracle of Delphi still speaks, not in words, but in the silence between the stars, waiting for those who are willing to listen, waiting for the moment when the veil between the world of gods and the world of men becomes thin enough to hear. It is said, when the winds of the Arabian desert fall silent, and the scorching heat of the sun softens into the embrace of twilight, the whispers of a long-lost city can still be heard. They rise from the shifting sands, carried on the breath of time. A city once vibrant with wealth and splendor, now only a distant memory, buried beneath the endless dunes. Ubar, known to some as the Atlantis of the sands, lies lost, its golden gates and jeweled towers swallowed by the unforgiving desert, their beauty now only a shadow. The desert speaks to those who listen closely, and it is in the silence between breaths that the stories of Ubar are whispered. Perhaps it is the wind that carries them, or perhaps it is the earth itself cradling the secrets of a civilization whose glory has been erased, like the fading traces of a star long vanished. And yet, beneath the veil of sand, beneath the soft hum of the earth, the memory of Ubar still stirs. In forgotten corners of the world, in the very heart of the desert, its echoes remain. As the moon rises over the endless expanse, the journey begins not with the bright light of discovery, but with the soft, contemplative pull of mystery. In the distance, the horizon fades into shadows, and the dunes appear to whisper, shifting and settling with a quiet grace. The stones and relics of Ubar, though lost to time, have not entirely surrendered to oblivion. They lie beneath the earth, untouched by human hands, but never completely forgotten. Was Ubar truly a place of unimaginable wealth, a city built upon the dreams of kings and merchants? Or was it, perhaps, a kingdom doomed by its own grandeur, its treasures swallowed by the earth in an eternal embrace? Some say that Ubar was once a city beyond compare, a place of golden gates and palaces adorned with jewels, where the sands shimmered like dusted stars, and the air was thick with the scent of frankincense. The city's splendor was unmatched, its wealth unmeasurable. It stood, so they say, in the heart of the desert, an oasis of civilization amidst the barren vastness, and yet no one knows for certain. The city's glory has become a myth, a dream that flickers in the minds of those who search for it. The wind that sweeps through the desert carries with it a sense of longing, a yearning for something that was once whole but is now shattered, lost to time. The image of Ubar, its golden gates gleaming beneath a sky alive with the light of distant stars, flashes in the mind, only to dissolve into the endless stretch of sand. Its towers, adorned with the wealth of 1,000 kings, flicker like stars just beyond reach, twinkling in the distance before vanishing once more. These are the memories of Ubar, fading like a half-remembered dream, slipping through the fingers like the very grains of sand it was built upon. In the silence of the desert, where the night is deep and the stars burn cold, Ubar's story unfolds not as a tale of triumph, but as one of quiet melancholy. It is a story of hubris, of a city so full of itself, so consumed by its own magnificence, that it forgot the most sacred of truths, that nothing is eternal. Ubar's treasures, its jewels, and its wealth, piled high like a mountain of earth's richest gifts, became its curse. In the end, the desert did not take them. They were surrendered to the sand, as if the earth itself had decided to reclaim what was never meant to be owned. The ruins of Ubar, if they are ever to be found, will never reveal the full truth of the city. Perhaps that is the way of such places of cities built on the promise of eternity. Perhaps Ubar was never meant to be discovered, not by men, nor by time. Its treasures, its golden gates, its marble halls, its silk-draped chambers will remain buried beneath the sands, hidden from the world that might seek to claim them. Perhaps that is its legacy, not its wealth, not its grandeur, but the quiet mystery that surrounds it, the soft pull of its story, ever present, but just out of reach. As the journey into Ubar deepens, the desert reveals its own kind of beauty, silent, vast, and unyielding. The ruins of other cities, long forgotten by time, stand as silent witnesses to the truth that all things must eventually fade. The wind carries the dust of 1,000 stories, and as the traveler listens closely, they may catch a faint murmur, an echo of a time when the golden towers of Ubar stood tall, kissed by the sun, and bathed in starlight. But these echoes are faint, and the sands are relentless. They sweep across the earth, covering everything, as if to remind us that nothing, no city, no civilization, no kingdom can stand forever. In the quiet solitude of the desert, the truth of Ubar's fate is revealed not through discovery, but through acceptance. The city was not lost to time, it was surrendered. Perhaps it was never meant to be found, for in the finding there would be no mystery left. There is a beauty in that silence, a peace in knowing that some things are meant to remain hidden, some treasures are never meant to be uncovered, and some stories, no matter how rich, are destined to fade into the dust of the earth. The final moments of the journey are not filled with answers, but with quiet reflection. The sands shift beneath the feet, and the night deepens around the traveler. The stars above, cold and distant, flicker like the faintest memory of something once bright. The wind sighs over the endless expanse, carrying with it the soft, persistent whisper of Ubar's name, a name that, like its city, will never fully fade. What is the lesson of Ubar? Is it a tale of hubris, of wealth undone, or is it a story of something deeper, of a place that, in its splendor, forgot to listen to the whispers of the earth? Perhaps it is both. Perhaps it is neither. The desert has its own rhythm, its own truth. It waits in silence, holding its stories close, cradling its secrets, like the sands that slip between fingers. And Ubar, for all its golden glory, is but one of those secrets, its city now forgotten, but its whispers still carried in the wind, in the dust, in the endless stretch of the desert. The ruins, when they are found, will not reveal all that was. But perhaps that is the point. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps it was always meant to fade, just like the golden gates of Ubar slipping through time, until they too, like the winds, are lost in the silence of the earth. And so, as the night deepens and the desert holds its breath, Ubar remains, not as a city, but as a memory, unfathomable, mysterious, forever just out of reach. In the heart of the dense Guatemalan jungle, where the green of the earth stretches endlessly, there are whispers that rise from the earth itself, whispers of a forgotten civilization, a lost people, whose voices once echoed across the world. The mighty temples of Tikal, half swallowed by the thick embrace of the jungle, rise like silent sentinels, their stone steps worn by the passage of time. Above them, the towering pyramids pierce the sky, yet there is a stillness here, a quiet that wraps itself around the stones like a shroud. It is said that the Maya, with their vast knowledge of the stars and the heavens, once shaped time itself. Their calendars, precise and eternal, mapped the movements of the universe with a clarity that left the modern world in awe. The knowledge of the heavens, woven into every stone and every glyph, held secrets far beyond the reach of their time, and yet, despite the grandeur of their civilization, the temples now stand abandoned, their once vibrant life vanished like mist at dawn. Beneath the thick canopy, where light rarely touches the earth, the story of the Maya unfolds not in the bright light of history, but in the cool shadows cast by ancient ruins. The city of Tikal, once a thriving hub of culture and knowledge, now lies buried under the weight of centuries. But there is something about this place, something in the air that pulls at the heart, as if the land itself holds the memories of the people who once called it home. Some believe the Maya were lost to time because of their own ambition, driven by a thirst for power, wealth, and conquest. Yet others speak of something deeper, a cosmic fate that reached out and touched them. The Maya were keenly attuned to the rhythms of the heavens, their observatories tracing the movements of the stars with an accuracy that astounds even modern astronomers. It is said that they believed in cycles, in the ebb and flow of cosmic forces. Perhaps, in the final days of their civilization, they saw signs, omens in the stars, in the seasons, in the very pulse of the earth that foretold the end of their world. And so, as the jungle grew thick around them, the voices of the Maya faded into the wind. As night falls over the ruins, the jungle grows alive with the sounds of unseen creatures, their calls like an ancient hymn. The moon rises, casting a silver light over the stone temples, turning them into silent monuments to the past. The air is thick with the scent of wet earth, of leaves, and of memories long buried. In this moonlit stillness, the last song of the Maya can be heard if one listens closely. It is not a song of joy or of triumph, but of sorrow, of loss. It is a song of those who understood the heavens, yet could not grasp the fleeting nature of their own existence. The stone altars, still bearing the marks of forgotten rituals, seem to hum with a quiet resonance. In the shadows, the faintest outlines of ancient carvings appear, their meanings lost to time, but not to the earth. The ruins, overgrown and crumbling, hold the echoes of gods long forgotten, their names written in the dust. The air feels heavy with the weight of their absence, as if the earth itself mourns the loss of their wisdom, their songs, and their prayers. The jungle, which once surrounded the Maya with its dense foliage, now embraces their ruins, folding them into its eternal green. The trees, ancient and towering, seem to whisper in the wind, and beneath their branches, the stones of Tikal lie as quiet as the stars above. It is here, in the soft moonlight that spills over the ruins, that the Maya's final moments seem to come into focus, not in the fiery burst of an apocalyptic prophecy, but in the slow, fading rhythm of a civilization that simply faded into the earth. Some say the Maya disappeared overnight, swallowed by the jungle, their temples abandoned as if by divine decree. Others speak of a gradual decline, a people slowly consumed by the forces they once so carefully understood. Were their last years marked by the foretelling of an end, by the knowledge that their time had come to pass, or did they simply disappear, like a song whose last note fades into the silence? The answer remains elusive, caught in the shifting sands of time, as fragile as the whispers of wind through the trees. In the soft rhythm of the jungle, where the leaves rustle with the faintest breath, the mystery of the Maya deepens. Their gods, though forgotten, still haunt the stone faces of the temples, their eyes still gazing out over the ruins as if waiting for the return of their people. The faintest echo of a ritual hums in the air, the same hum that once filled the halls with the voices of priests and worshippers. It is a hum of reverence, of prayer, of a people whose lives were intricately tied to the stars, to the movements of the earth, to the cycles of time. Perhaps the Maya knew something we do not. Perhaps they understood that all things, even the greatest civilizations, must eventually return to the earth. Perhaps their disappearance was not a tragedy, but a quiet surrender, an acceptance of the eternal rhythm that governs the universe. As the jungle slowly reclaims Tikal, as the stones turn to dust and the altars crumble beneath the weight of the passing centuries, the last song of the Maya fades into the stillness of the night. The moon, high above in the cloudless sky, casts its silver light over the forgotten city, and for a brief moment, it feels as though the past and the present are one. The jungle, with its eternal green, holds the ruins close, as though it too is waiting for something, something that only the stars can reveal. The Maya, with their knowledge of the heavens, may have known that the end is but another beginning, that the cycle of life and death, of creation and destruction, is as eternal as the stars themselves, and so, as the night deepens, and the moonlight slowly fades into the coming dawn, the echoes of the Maya's last song linger in the air. It is a song that carries with it a quiet wisdom, a reminder that all things are fleeting, and that the universe, in its vastness, holds secrets that we may never fully understand. Perhaps the Maya did not vanish in the way we imagine. Perhaps they simply became part of the earth, part of the stars, part of the very rhythm of the universe. The journey through Tikal does not end with answers, but with a deep, meditative silence. There is no resolution, only the soft hum of the earth beneath the feet, and the distant murmur of a song that once filled the air. Perhaps the song was never meant to be fully heard, only felt. Perhaps it was never meant to be found, only remembered. And in that quiet, sacred space, where memory fades and time slips away, the lost voices of the Maya continue to hum, waiting for someone to listen. The song is not over, it is only waiting, hidden in the wind, the stones, and the silent gaze of the moon. Beneath the star-swept sky of ancient Mesopotamia, there is a place where the earth whispered of paradise, a place where the very air was said to hum with the scent of jasmine, and where the sounds of flowing water would have mingled with the rustle of leaves. It is said that in this land, in the heart of the mighty city of Babylon, there existed a garden that defied nature, a sanctuary of life suspended between the earth and the heavens. The Hanging Gardens, an oasis of lush greenery, woven into the very fabric of stone, stood as a miraculous creation, a vision that no one quite knew how to capture or fully believe. Some believed the gardens bloomed in the shade of the great ziggurat, while others whispered that they grew from the ingenuity of a king's love for his queen. But the gardens, if they ever truly existed, have been lost to time, as fragile as a dream that slips through the fingers the moment it is grasped. Though poets have sung their praises, and travelers have left behind words as delicate as petals, the evidence of their existence is elusive. The stone walls of Babylon, etched with the echoes of ancient history, tell no stories of these gardens. They remain hidden, like a vision caught in the folds of memory, flickering like starlight on the edge of sleep. What, then, was the truth of this fabled garden? Did it bloom, bathed in the golden light of the sun, suspended above the rooftops of Babylon? Or was it but an illusion, born of imagination, conjured by poets who sought to capture the impossible? Whispers tell us that even in the most ancient corners of the earth, there are stories that defy the logic of time, stories that exist only in the spaces between myth and history, between dream and reality. The Garden of Babylon is one such story. As the night deepens, the landscape shifts. The cold shadows of the desert stretch long beneath the rising moon. The stars, scattered across the heavens like scattered jewels, cast their pale light upon the ruins of a city long past. In the stillness of the night, one can almost hear the faint rustle of leaves, the soft murmur of water flowing through unseen channels. And in that silence, the imagination begins to paint a picture of the Hanging Gardens. Perhaps it is the wind, carrying with it the fragrance of jasmine and myrrh, that stirs this vision to life. Or perhaps it is the memory of a place so beautiful, so ephemeral, that it can only exist in the spaces between time. The gardens, if they existed, would have been an exquisite feat of engineering and nature, a temple to the gods of fertility and abundance, built with hands that understood both the rhythm of the earth and the stars above. They would have risen from the very stone of the city, an oasis suspended in the air, where water cascaded down from high terraces, nourishing the rich flora that covered every surface. Flowers in vibrant hues would have bloomed in the shade of hanging vines, their petals opening like soft prayers to the heavens. And beneath the cool canopy, the people of Babylon would have wandered, their footsteps lost in the sound of flowing water, their voices quiet against the eternal hum of the night. But as we walk through these imagined gardens, we must ask, what is it that we are truly seeking? Is it the beauty of the garden itself, the physicality of stone and flower, earth and sky? Or is it the deeper truth that these gardens represent? For, if they existed, the Hanging Gardens would not merely have been a marvel of nature, they would have been a symbol of the fleeting nature of human achievement. Beautiful, yes, but ephemeral. Even the most grandiose of human creations are fragile, destined to fade like the night, slipping from memory like dew in the early morning sun. As we wander through the gardens, we come to understand that this beauty was never meant to last. The stone terraces would have crumbled with time, the water would have run dry, and the flowers, though they bloomed with the brightest of colors, would have wilted with the passing seasons. Yet, in that moment when the gardens were alive, when the jasmine bloomed in the moonlight, the fleeting nature of beauty would have been forgotten. All that would have existed was the present, a moment of perfection that could not be captured, only experienced. The silence of Babylon speaks to us from the distant past, not with the sounds of laughter or the clamor of chariots, but with the soft hum of memory. It is in this silence that we feel the presence of the garden, not in the physical world, but in the world of dreams. The gardens, though lost to time, are not entirely gone. They live on in the spaces between words, in the echoes of stories told and retold through the ages. They live on in the longing of those who seek beauty in a world that is, at times, too harsh, too broken. As the moonlight spills across the ruins, we are left with a quiet question. What is it that we leave behind when all that is left is a shadow of a dream? Perhaps we, like the gardens, are but brief moments in the flow of time, here one moment, gone the next. And yet, in that brief moment, we may create something beautiful, a song, a story, a vision that will live on in the hearts of those who listen. The hanging gardens of Babylon, whether they ever existed or not, are a reminder of that beauty. Their existence, like all things of this earth, is marked by impermanence. And yet, perhaps that is what makes them so sacred. They were never meant to last. They were meant to remind us of the fragility of all things, and of the grace that exists in that fragility. The night deepens, and the moon shines brighter, casting long shadows across the ancient city. In the distance, the faintest sound of water can still be heard, and for a moment, the gardens rise once more in the imagination. The stone terraces, covered in vines and flowers, seem to sway in the breeze. The scent of jasmine and myrrh fills the air, and the world grows quiet, as though holding its breath. Perhaps it was never meant to be found, the garden, the truth behind it, the reason it was lost. Perhaps the mystery is its very essence. The gardens, like all things of the earth, exist to remind us that beauty is fleeting, that time is but a river flowing through the ages, and that nothing lasts forever. And so, as the moonlight fades and the ruins of Babylon are swallowed by the silence of the night, we are left with the echo of a song, a whisper in the wind. The gardens may be gone, but their memory remains, a soft and sacred echo, waiting for someone to listen. Some voices only echo when we are ready to hear them. Perhaps the garden will bloom again, not in the soil of the earth, but in the hearts of those who seek its beauty, and in the dreams of those who listen closely. In the stillness of the Egyptian desert, beneath the endless expanse of burning sand, there is a figure that has watched the passage of millennia. The great Sphinx, an ancient guardian carved from the very stone of the earth, sits silent, its gaze piercing the horizon. It is said that its smile, enigmatic and unyielding, holds secrets far older than the sands themselves. A riddle lies within its stone lips, a question that has echoed down the ages, unanswered, unyielding. What does the Sphinx guard beneath its massive paws? Is it the knowledge of the gods, a power lost to time, or something far more sacred, hidden from the eyes of men? The wind sighs across the desert, carrying with it whispers of forgotten truths. The shifting dunes seem to move in rhythm with the heart of the earth itself, and the Sphinx, though silent, seems to pulse with a mystery too great to comprehend. It is not just a monument of stone. It is an enigma, a key to a riddle that cannot be solved. The question remains, what is hidden in the shadows of this guardian, this timeless sentinel that watches over the land of the pharaohs? As the sun begins its slow descent beyond the horizon, casting long shadows across the sand, the desert air grows cooler, and the world seems to hold its breath. The Sphinx, bathed in the fading light of the day, seems to stir with a quiet energy, as though beckoning those who seek its secrets. The stone face, weathered by centuries of wind and sun, watches over the endless stretch of land, its expression both knowing and unknowable. Some believe that the Sphinx was carved as a divine protector, a guardian of ancient wisdom. It stands at the threshold of the Giza Plateau, looking out over the Nile and the Great Pyramids, as though it is both of this world and beyond it. But beneath its gaze lies a deeper mystery. What does it guard? What has been hidden away from the world, buried beneath the weight of history and myth? The Sphinx is said to hold the key to a secret that transcends time, a riddle that, like the desert sands, shifts and changes, elusive and unfathomable. As the cool desert breeze stirs the air, carrying with it the scent of dust and distant stars, we are invited into the silence. It is in the stillness, in the space between the winds, that the true nature of the Sphinx begins to reveal itself. For the riddle it guards is not simply a question to be answered, but a journey to be undertaken. It is a path through time, a descent into the depths of memory, where the line between myth and reality becomes blurred. In the heart of the desert, beneath the vast sky, the riddle of the Sphinx unfolds, not in words, but in silence. What was the purpose of this ancient guardian, this monumental figure carved from stone? Some say it was built by the pharaohs to honor their gods, a divine protector meant to guard sacred knowledge. Others believe that it was a symbol of something deeper, an expression of the eternal search for meaning, for understanding in a world that is, at times, both known and unknowable. As the stars begin to twinkle above, like ancient witnesses to the passage of time, the Sphinx seems to stand taller in the twilight. It is not simply a monument of stone, it is a living enigma, a question that reverberates through the ages, a whisper carried on the desert winds. The riddle, though never answered, continues to echo in the hearts and minds of those who gaze upon it. It is said that the Sphinx's smile hides a secret that has been buried beneath the sands for centuries, a secret that only the worthy may discover, though no one has yet to find the key. The riddle is not just a question, it is a journey into the past, into the ancient world of the pharaohs, into the heart of a civilization that has long since faded into memory. As the desert night deepens, the cool air brings with it the weight of centuries. The stone paws of the Sphinx, weathered by time, seem to beckon us forward, inviting us to explore the hidden spaces of history, to search for answers that may never come. What lies beneath the surface of this ancient guardian? Some say it is a tomb, a hidden burial chamber where the secrets of the kings are kept safe, guarded by the Sphinx itself. Others believe it is a storehouse of knowledge, an ancient library filled with the wisdom of the gods. And yet, there are those who think the riddle is not something to be solved, but something to be experienced, felt in the silence of the desert night, beneath the gaze of the great stone beast. The true answer, it seems, is not to be found in the world of men, but in the quiet spaces between the questions themselves. In the silence of the desert night, we are left with no clear answers, only a question that lingers like the whisper of wind across the sand. The Sphinx, with its timeless gaze, continues to watch over the land, guarding its secret with an inscrutable smile. Perhaps it was never meant to be answered. Perhaps the riddle is not for us to solve, but for us to live with, to wander through the corridors of history, forever seeking, forever questioning. And so we are left with the silence, with the mystery of the Sphinx echoing in our hearts. The desert winds, as they rise and fall, carry with them the unanswered questions of ages past. The riddle of the Sphinx is not a puzzle to be solved, but a journey to be taken. A journey through time, through memory, through the very soul of humanity itself. Perhaps, in the end, it is not the answer that matters, but the quest itself. The riddle of the Sphinx calls us to seek, to question, to wander through the sands of time, to look beyond the surface and into the deep, where the mysteries of the world lie waiting, veiled in the silence of the ages. As the night deepens and the stars wheel slowly across the sky, we are left with the question that remains unanswered. What does the Sphinx guard beneath its paws? And perhaps, in the stillness of the desert night, it is enough simply to listen to feel the breath of the earth and the whisper of the wind as they carry the secrets of the ages, eternally elusive, eternally waiting for those who are ready to hear them. In the stillness of the desert, where the earth meets the sky, there lies a body of water unlike any other, the Dead Sea. Its waters, heavy with salt, shimmer beneath the sun's gaze, reflecting a sky that stretches endlessly, as though caught in the balance between two worlds. The surface of the sea is smooth, undisturbed, a mirror to the heavens above, yet beneath this serene veil, the earth holds its breath. For in these waters, time itself seems to pause, suspended in the silent echo of history. The shores are barren, lined with salt-crusted earth, as if the very land had forgotten the touch of life. The air is thick with the weight of the ages. It is said that the waters of the Dead Sea possess strange powers, healing for the body, yet heavy with the past for the soul. Once, the ancient Israelites bathed in its waters, seeking restoration for their weary bodies, while traders and conquerors alike fought to possess its sacred shores. But what of the forgotten peoples who once called these shores their home? What of the stories buried beneath the salt, the whispers lost to the winds? As the sun dips lower in the sky, the sea's surface glows with a faint, unsettling light. The air cools, the stillness deepens, and the water seems to hold its breath, as if waiting for the night to reveal its secrets. The silence of the Dead Sea is both sacred and haunting, a place where the passage of time has slowed to a near halt. The past lingers here, but it is veiled in the depths, concealed in the quiet spaces where memory fades and the living world dares not tread. Some believe that the Dead Sea holds the echoes of lost civilizations, the whispered stories of kingdoms that rose and fell, of peoples who flourished and vanished. Beneath its still surface, ancient secrets sleep. In the shimmer of the water, one might almost hear the faint murmur of long-forgotten voices. Were these voices those of the ancient kings of Israel? Or perhaps the forgotten tribes who lived and died by the shores, their names swallowed by the winds? The sea, still and salt-streaked, remembers their footsteps, but it does not tell their story, not fully, not yet. The waters, though shimmering with the colors of the sky, remain a quiet mystery, reflecting but not revealing. To the eye, it is a sea of inanimate beauty, unmoving, unyielding. Yet, beneath its surface lies the buried past, the weight of history, of triumphs and tragedies, of rituals performed long ago, under a sky that has long since turned to dust. The healing waters may soothe the body, but they are also a mirror to the soul, reflecting the stillness of the world and the secrets it holds within. As the evening light spills over the horizon, the darkening waters seem to come alive with a soft, ethereal glow. It is a quiet invitation to journey deeper into the mystery, to explore the forgotten stories that drift like dust beneath the surface. The Dead Sea, with its salt-saturated waters, has seen the rise and fall of empires, the whisper of divine prophecies, and the footsteps of those who sought refuge in its depths. Yet it remains, as it always has been, a veil between worlds, holding its mysteries in silent reverence. The sea's shores are scattered with ancient ruins, faint reminders of a time when the land was alive with the movement of people, with the murmur of voices and the rhythms of life. The stones are weathered by centuries of wind and salt, their surfaces worn smooth by the relentless passage of time. These ruins, though seemingly forgotten, hold within them the memory of what once was. It is said that those who listen closely, who allow the silence to fill their senses, might hear the faintest echo of prayers once whispered on these shores. The journey into the heart of the Dead Sea is one of quiet reflection. As the waves lap gently against the salt-crusted earth, one might wonder what is hidden beneath the calm surface. What truths lie in stillness? What has been forgotten, buried in the deep, beyond the reach of memory and myth? There are whispers, of course, rumors of lost scrolls, of sacred rites, of an ancient kingdom, swallowed by the very waters it once worshipped. The truth is elusive, hidden in the salt, in the silence. For many, the Dead Sea is a place of pilgrimage, a sacred journey to the land of the prophets, where the echoes of ancient voices still seem to linger. And yet, for all the tales it holds, the sea speaks only in stillness. It is as though the land, with its ancient salt flats and starlit skies, has chosen to keep its stories to itself. Perhaps it is not for us to know everything, not yet. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to remain veiled in the depths, hidden beneath the silence, to be discovered only when the time is right, when the earth has turned another cycle, and the moon casts its gentle light once more. Some believe that the true power of the Dead Sea lies not in the secrets it holds, but in the space it creates, a space where the soul can pause, where the mind can breathe and listen. In the quiet, beneath the eternal watch of the desert sky, the sea invites those who come to simply be, to bathe in its stillness, to breathe in the air thick with the weight of history, and to surrender to the mystery of what lies beneath. As the last rays of the sun slip beneath the horizon, the waters of the Dead Sea seem to take on a new, otherworldly light. The silence deepens, and the world seems to hold its breath. The sea, with its endless horizon and salt-crusted shores, stands as a timeless witness to the passage of ages. It is a place where memory fades, where the echoes of the past are carried away by the winds, but always, always, lingering just out of reach. The riddle of the Dead Sea is not one that can be answered. It is not a question with a simple resolution. Instead, it is a journey into the past, into the depths of history, into the very heart of the earth. The truth remains hidden, a secret buried beneath the salt and silence, a mystery veiled by the waters. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson the Dead Sea holds for us, that some questions, some truths, are not meant to be fully understood, but rather to be felt in the quiet spaces between the waves, in the breath of the earth, in the pulse of the eternal. As the moon rises above the desert, casting its pale light across the waters, the stillness remains. It is a sacred silence, a veil between worlds, a place where the past lingers, waiting for those who are ready to listen. Perhaps the answers will never come. Perhaps the mysteries will remain, forever hidden beneath the surface of the Dead Sea, a reflection of the vast, unknowable depths of time itself. And so, we are left with the silence, with the echoes of the past calling to us from the depths, beneath the veil, where the secrets of the Dead Sea lie waiting to be discovered, or perhaps to remain forever hidden, just as the night stretches onward, timeless and endless, beneath the gaze of the stars. In the heart of the Jordanian desert, where the land is a vast expanse of sand and stone, there lies a city hidden in the embrace of the earth. Petra, the Rose City, carved from the living rock, stands alone under a sky that has seen centuries pass like shadows. The cliffs, once vibrant with the pulse of life, now stand silent, their intricate facades weathered by time, their secrets buried in the dust. It is a city that no longer speaks in the language of its people, and yet, in its stillness, it seems to hold its breath. Some say that Petra was never truly meant to be found, that it was a city born from the earth, made from the whispers of winds that swept through the canyons, or perhaps from the dreams of those who carved it. It is said that the Nabateans, with their mastery of water and stone, built this place not just as a city of commerce and culture, but as a sacred realm, one that drew from the very pulse of the earth itself. But what was it that gave Petra its power? What mystical force shaped the sandstone into the great facades that stand, now eroded, as silent witnesses to a forgotten age? The city's history is cloaked in mystery. Beneath the softness of the desert wind, which stirs the sands and whispers ancient tales, Petra holds the key to its own demise. The crumbling columns and rock-hewn temples speak of a people who once thrived, their trade routes stretching like veins through the desert. Yet those same stones, worn smooth by the passage of time, also tell of a city lost, its echoes faded into the very earth from which it was born. It is said that the path into Petra the Sick was once a sacred journey. Through the narrow canyon, the light would fall in soft beams, illuminating the rock-carved walls, casting shadows on the path ahead. The city, hidden from the world, seemed to invite only those who could hear its call. Today, the Sikh stands empty. The breeze that once carried the scent of spices and treasures now whispers only in the silence, and as the wind stirs the sands, the city's secrets seem to shift and fade, like the shadows of the past, just beyond reach. The first sight of Petra is overwhelming, like the first breath taken after a long sleep. The massive treasury, Al-Khazneh, stands tall before the traveler, its carved facade glowing soft hues of rose and gold under the desert sun, as though it is not made of stone at all, but of some ancient, ethereal material. It is said that the Nabateans, with their expert craftsmanship, built this monument to honor their gods. Yet, the true purpose of the treasury remains a mystery. Was it a tomb, a temple, or a place where the pulse of the city's power was concentrated, buried beneath the weight of centuries? As one walks deeper into the city, the silence presses in, the canyon walls close in, and the labyrinth of paths twists and turns, leading the traveler into a maze of rock-hewn chambers and empty courtyards. The city, which once resonated with the hum of life, is now a place where only echoes remain. The only sounds that fill the air are the soft rustling of the desert wind, the faint call of distant birds, and the footsteps that fall, unnoticed, on the sand-strewn paths. And yet, there is a quiet beauty in this emptiness. In the absence of noise, one can almost hear the whispers of the past, the voices of merchants and traders, of kings and priests, of the people who shaped this city from the earth. It is said that the Nabateans were not just skilled traders but also mystics, people who understood the rhythms of the land, the flow of water, the alignment of stars. The city was built with a knowledge of the heavens, its temples and facades aligned with celestial bodies, as if the Nabateans were trying to reach beyond the earth, to touch the stars themselves. Some believe that Petra was not just a city, but a place where the sacred and the earthly met, a bridge between the mortal and the divine. The people of Petra may have carved the city from the rock, but it is said that the city itself was shaped by the forces of the earth, as if the stone had been waiting, patiently, for those who would know how to listen. As the sun sets behind the jagged cliffs, casting long shadows over the city, the silence deepens. The rose-colored stone, once vibrant with the life of a thriving civilization, fades into dusky shades of grey and brown. The city, caught between the warmth of the day and the coolness of the night, seems to hold its breath, waiting for something that may never come. The last light of the day slips slowly away, and the moon rises, casting a soft, silver glow over the city's ruins. It is in this twilight hour that the city seems to whisper. Some say that the city's true power lies not in its stone facades or its storied past, but in the stillness that fills its air. In the quiet of the desert, Petra seems to hold its breath, waiting for someone to listen. The mysteries of the city, the how and the why of its rise and fall, may never be fully understood. The answer may not lie in the stones themselves, but in the spaces between them, in the silence that stretches across the desert, waiting for those who seek to hear. In the moonlight, the city takes on a different form. The shadows of the past blend with the present, and the cracks in the stone seem to deepen, as if the city is slowly being swallowed by the sands of time. Yet, as the wind picks up and the sands shift, it becomes clear that Petra is not so much lost as it is waiting for someone to return, to remember, to understand the truths that lie hidden beneath the layers of stone, beneath the dust that time has scattered so carefully across its streets. The journey through Petra is one of awe and melancholy. There is beauty in the silence, but there is also sorrow. The city's grandeur, now marred by the passage of centuries, speaks of the fragility of all things, even the greatest of empires. What was once a thriving hub of commerce and culture is now a city without a sound, a place where the echoes of the past have faded into the stillness. And yet, in that silence, there is a question, an unanswered riddle that lingers in the air like the wind itself. What was lost in this forgotten place? Was it the knowledge of the Nabateans, their understanding of the earth and the stars? Or was it something deeper, something more sacred, an essence that cannot be captured in the stone, but only in the spaces between the ruins? As the night deepens and the stars begin to shine above the city, one cannot help but wonder if Petra's secrets will ever be fully revealed. Perhaps it is not meant to be found. Perhaps Petra, with its silent streets and empty chambers, will always remain a mystery, a city caught between time, between the earth and the sky. And perhaps, in the silence, we will find our own answers, whispered softly by the desert winds, carried away like sand on the breath of time. In the end, Petra remains as it always has been, ancient, mysterious, and forever waiting. Its beauty lies not in its answers, but in the questions it leaves behind. And so, as the night embraces the city, the riddle lingers, an invitation to ponder the nature of memory, of time, and of the forgotten places that still echo in the heart of the earth. Far in the vast, wind-swept deserts of the American Southwest, there lies a place where time seems to slip away, like sand through the fingers. It is a land of quiet stillness, of ancient stone, and skies that stretch wide, as if the heavens themselves are within reach. The ruins of the Anasazi stand there, scattered like the remnants of a forgotten dream. Their cliff dwellings rise against the backdrop of the desert sky, silent sentinels to a culture that vanished long before the first Europeans set foot upon these lands. These stone homes, carved into the jagged cliffs and hidden from view, speak of a people who understood the land in ways that time has obscured. Yet, beneath the silence of these ancient walls, there lies a question, one that echoes through the desert air. What did the Anasazi see in the stars? It is said that the Anasazi were not merely builders, but visionaries, people who shaped their world with an understanding of the celestial order. The ruins they left behind are not mere homes or ceremonial sites. They are, in many ways, a grand map of the universe itself. The dwellings were crafted with the utmost care, their alignments and placements reflecting an intimate knowledge of the stars. Some believe that these cliff dwellings were not built just for shelter, but for something more sacred, something that reached beyond the earthly realm and touched the heavens. The Anasazi, whose name means ancient ones, in the language of their descendants, lived in harmony with the cycles of nature. Their lives were guided by the rhythms of the sun, the moon, and the stars' forces that shaped not only their daily existence, but their very identity. As the seasons turned, they turned with them, their actions marked by the heavenly bodies that watched over them. The Anasazi were not just observers of the stars. They were in constant dialogue with them, weaving their lives into the cosmic fabric in ways that still elude our understanding. As the journey begins, one might first see the ruins from a distance. The cliffs rise from the desert floor like an ancient fortress, their weathered stone bathed in the soft, golden light of the setting sun. The cliffs seem to pulse with the memory of the people who once lived here, as though the stones themselves carry the echoes of long-forgotten voices. The wind stirs the dust, carrying with it the scent of sage and the whisper of ancient prayers. It is in the stillness of the desert that one begins to understand the connection between the Anasazi and the cosmos. The ruins are not mere remnants of a lost civilization. They are the key to a mystery that spans centuries. The Anasazi, with their remarkable architecture and their understanding of the heavens, built their homes in ways that aligned with the celestial events that shaped their lives. The cliff dwellings were positioned with great precision, aligning with the solstices, equinoxes, and lunar cycles. It is said that their dwellings were places of both habitation and ritual, a space where the earthly and the divine could meet. The soft breeze carries the whispers of the past as the journey continues through the narrow, winding paths that lead deeper into the ruins. The buildings are carved into the cliffs themselves, like a spider's web woven into the stone. The hand of the Anasazi seems to be everywhere, each rock, each opening, each stone carved with purpose. These dwellings, though simple, reflect a sophistication that is timeless. It is said that the Anasazi saw the world not just in terms of physical space, but as a reflection of the cosmos, each stone, each chamber, each wall a microcosm of the universe. As the sun sets and the stars begin to emerge in the vast desert sky, the sense of awe deepens. The darkness slowly spreads across the land, and the ancient dwellings, now bathed in the silver glow of the moon, seem to come alive. The stars above twinkle like ancient eyes, watching silently over the land below. The cliffs themselves, now bathed in starlight, appear to breathe, as if the earth itself is listening to the celestial music of the spheres. It is in this stillness, this moment of sacred silence, that the true mystery of the Anasazi unfolds. The people who lived here, in these cliffs, were not just building homes. They were constructing a map that charted not only the physical landscape, but the celestial realm above. The alignment of the dwellings with the stars, the use of the sun and the moon to mark time and space, speaks of a people who saw themselves as part of something much larger than themselves. The Anasazi did not see the sky as something distant or unreachable. They saw it as a mirror to their own lives, a reflection of their place in the universe. In the silence of the desert, beneath the stars, the question arises again. What did the Anasazi see in the stars? Perhaps they saw the future, written in the movement of the heavens. Or perhaps they saw the past, the memories of those who had come before them. Perhaps, in the darkness of the desert night, they saw something that we cannot yet understand. For what is left behind when a culture vanishes, leaving only the echoes of their presence? It is said that the Anasazi disappeared as mysteriously as they had come, leaving behind only the ruins and the silence of their stone dwellings. Yet, even in their disappearance, they left us with a gift, a reminder of the deep connection between humanity and the cosmos. As the journey through the ruins continues, it becomes clear that the mystery of the Anasazi is not one that can be easily solved. The stars, which once guided their lives, still shine brightly above, but the answers to their questions, answers that were written in the stones, in the sky, and in the hearts of the people, remain hidden in the silence of the desert. Perhaps it was never meant to be known. Perhaps the answers are not for us to understand, but for us to feel, to stand in awe of the beauty of a culture that understood its place in the cosmos, and to listen to the whispers of the stars that still speak in the night. As the final moments of the journey approach, the desert stretches before you, vast and eternal. The cliffs, now darkened by the night, seem to hum with a quiet energy, a reminder that the Anasazi were not just builders, but dreamers. And as you stand there, beneath the vast, star-filled sky, the reflection lingers in your heart, a sense of reverence for a people who lived in harmony with the universe, who understood the rhythm of the earth and the stars, and who left behind a legacy that continues to echo in the silence of their sacred sites. Some voices, it is said, only echo when we are ready to listen. Perhaps the Anasazi knew something we have yet to hear. Perhaps their wisdom is woven into the stars themselves, waiting for the day when we, too, will understand our place in the great dance of the cosmos. But until then, the stones remain silent, steadfast, and timeless, and the stars continue to shine, marking the passage of time, as they always have and always will. In the stillness of the northern skies, where the world is kissed by shadows and light, there lies a vast, untouched expanse, the frozen waters of the north. Beneath the ghostly glow of the northern lights, the longships of the Norsemen once cut through the icy seas, their wooden hulls creaking with ancient power, their sails unfurling like the wings of a raven in flight. These vessels, born of wood and steel, carved through the misty waters of a world that seemed as timeless as the stars themselves. The air was thick with the scent of salt and ice, and the cries of the sea could be heard, distant and eternal. What drove these seafaring people, whose hearts were full of stories of gods and warriors, to set sail so far into the unknown? It is said that they were drawn not only by the promise of land or riches, but by something far more ethereal, a desire to touch the very edge of the world, to journey beyond the horizon, where the realms of men and gods blur into one. Some believed it was destiny that called them, while others whispered of a deeper, sacred yearning to voyage into the unseen, to reach the shores where the sacred and the eternal dwelled. The journey begins beneath the ethereal glow of the aurora borealis, a light that paints the heavens in shades of green and violet, as if the sky itself is alive. It is a time when the world is held in breathless suspension, when night seems endless, and the stars flicker like the embers of a fire long forgotten. The waters of the northern seas shimmer, as though touched by something divine, and the ships, strong, sleek, and dark, glide across them like creatures of myth. The wood of the longships, darkened by the salt of the sea and the hands of those who built them, seems to hum with the quiet voices of ancient souls. The Norsemen, with their eyes set on distant shores, knew these waters as their ancestors knew the land, a vast, untamed expanse of mystery. Their sails, crafted with care, billowed against the cold wind, carrying them forward on a journey whose end was as unknowable as the horizon itself. It is said that the wind whispered to them in a language of its own, one that spoke of the gods and of forgotten lands, of fates that could not be avoided, and of promises that had been written in the stars long before the first ship was carved from timber. Beneath the crescent moon, the journey unfolds through landscapes that seem suspended in time, untouched by the hands of man. The vastness of the sea stretches endlessly, and the ships appear as small, dark figures against the infinite expanse of water and sky. The creaking of the wood and the rhythmic lapping of the waves against the hulls are the only sounds that break the stillness. The sky above is infinite, and the stars themselves seem closer, almost within reach, like distant beacons calling the seafarers onward. It is said that the Norsemen believed the sea to be a living, breathing entity, its waters as deep and mysterious as the gods themselves. To sail upon it was to touch the divine, to enter the realm where mortal and immortal were intertwined. With each passing wave, they sailed further from the known, deeper into the heart of the unknown. And yet, as they journeyed, they carried with them the stories of their gods, Odin, Thor, Freya, legends that shaped their lives and guided their course. The Norsemen did not see themselves as mere travelers. They were voyagers of fate, chasing the horizon in search of something both sacred and eternal. In the silence of the sea, beneath the ethereal glow of the aurora, the question arises again. What did the Norsemen seek when they set sail into the unknown? Perhaps it was a new world, a place where they could plant their feet and call it home. Perhaps it was the promise of riches or conquest, or perhaps, deep in their hearts, they sought something more, a place where the gods walked among men, where the heavens and the earth met in sacred union, where time itself seemed to pause. Some believe they sought a land of eternal light, a place where the gods smiled upon them, where their hearts could find peace. The sea, like an ancient oracle, holds its secrets close. The Norsemen, though they sailed far and wide, could never know if they had reached the end of their journey, or if it had only just begun. For the horizon they sought was never fixed, always shifting, always moving just out of reach. And yet, they continued to sail, driven by the whispers of the gods, the pull of destiny, and the promise of something more. Their journey was not just one of exploration. It was a journey of the soul, a search for meaning in a world where the boundaries between myth and memory were blurred. The waves, now softened by the cool night air, seemed to carry with them the memories of the past, the echoes of those who had sailed before. The crests of the waves catch the light of the stars, reflecting a faint, silvery glow that dances upon the water's surface. In these fleeting moments, the Norsemen are reminded of the eternal cycle of life and death, of the constant pull of fate. The stars above, too, are part of this cycle, watching over the ships as they glide through the darkness. The light of the moon spills over the sea like an offering, casting long shadows across the water. As the journey continues, the ships glide ever onward, their path illuminated by the moon and the stars. But there is no end to the horizon, no final destination to which they can sail. Instead, the journey becomes a sacred ritual, an eternal voyage into the unknown, and with each passing wave, the mystery deepens. What does it mean to sail into the unknown? What drives a people to leave behind the familiar and venture into the realm of myth? Perhaps, in the end, the journey itself is the answer. Perhaps it was never about finding land or riches or conquest. Perhaps the Norsemen sailed into the unknown to chase something much greater, to chase the horizon in search of the sacred and the eternal, to touch the very edge of the world, where gods and men meet, where time itself fades away, and where the soul can soar free. As the last of the night passes and the dawn's first light begins to bleed into the sky, the ships are seen as silhouettes against the sea, silent, steadfast, and eternal. The journey continues, ever onward, the path unknown but never abandoned. The moon fades into the morning, and the northern lights fade with it, leaving behind only the quiet reflection of a voyage that has no end. Some journeys, it is said, are never meant to be completed. Perhaps it is not the destination that matters, but the act of sailing itself, the courage to step into the unknown, to chase the horizon, to seek the divine in the silence of the sea. And as the day breaks and the first light touches the water, the final question remains: what does it mean to sail into the unknown? Perhaps, only in the silence of the journey, will we come to understand. In the hushed silence of ancient Greece, beneath the watchful gaze of the stars, there burns a flame, small, yet eternal. It flickers in the heart of Olympia, at the very center of a world once filled with gods and heroes, where the feet of athletes pounded the earth in pursuit of glory. The flame, a beacon of divine favor, has no name but its own. It is said that it burns in honor of the gods, illuminating the path between the mortal realm and the heavens above. Yet, there are whispers that ask, what is the true nature of this flame? Does it hold within it the secrets of the gods, or is it, like all things of this earth, simply a symbol, a marker of human ambition and desire. As the evening sky darkens and the sun sinks beneath the horizon, the ancient stadiums fall silent. The air thickens with the weight of memories, the sound of runners' feet still echoing in the stillness. The echoes of a time long past remain, carried on the breeze, weaving through the columns and the ruins, and lingering like the faintest touch of a forgotten dream. It is in this quiet, at the edge of night, that we begin the journey into the heart of Olympia's sacred flame, a journey that takes us deep into the silence where the truth of the flame might be revealed if we are patient enough to listen. The flame itself, though small, is more than a mere flicker of light. It burns not just in the temple at Olympia, but in the hearts of those who believe. It is said to burn eternally, its fire never extinguishing, as a symbol of the gods' favor. And yet, the flame is also the product of human hands, kindled by mortal ambition and desire. It is fed by the sweat of athletes, who, in their quest for victory, race across the sacred grounds, striving to win the favor of both gods and men. The flame, then, is both divine and human, a paradox, forever entwined. The journey through Olympia's sacred grounds begins beneath a twilight sky, the last rays of the sun slipping away to leave behind a soft, deep blue. Shadows stretch long across the ruins, where columns, once towering and proud, now stand like ghosts of a bygone era. The faint glow of the flame flickers in the distance, its light dancing on the stone, casting long, wavering shadows that seem to stretch toward the heavens. In the silence of the stadium, the sound of runners' feet fades into memory. The air is thick with the weight of time, as though the ground beneath the ancient stones still echoes with the rhythm of the past. It is said that those who ran here, those who once competed for the honor of the gods, could feel the heartbeat of the earth itself. The ground was alive with energy, charged by the will of the athletes and the gods above. With every step, the runners left their mark upon the earth, a trace of their ambition and desire. Now, however, the silence is deep and unbroken, the air filled only with the sound of the wind moving through the trees. The flame itself flickers softly in the distance, a pale light that burns with an almost haunting beauty. It is said that the flame was kindled by the priestesses of the temple, its fire tended with care and reverence. As the light grows dimmer and the world slips into darkness, the flame burns on unwavering, eternal. Some believe that the flame carries with it the power of the gods themselves, a light that can never be extinguished, no matter how hard the winds may blow or how much time passes. As night deepens, the flame casts a soft glow over the ruins, illuminating the crumbling stones, the broken columns, and the silent traces of a once glorious city. The flame, in its quiet brilliance, seems to hold the memory of an age long gone. The winds whisper through the broken walls, carrying with them the stories of athletes, of victories and defeats, of glory and loss. The flame, then, is not merely a symbol of divine favor, but a memory, a relic of a time when the gods walked among men, when victory and honor could be won by the speed of one's feet and the strength of one's heart. The flame, as it flickers in the night, is a reminder of the fleeting nature of all things, both mortal and divine. The runners who once competed here have long since passed, their footsteps forgotten by the sands of time. The gods who watched over them are now but echoes in the sky, their voices faint and distant, and yet the flame continues to burn, untouched by time, as though it holds the memory of all that has passed and all that is yet to come. As we stand before the flame, its light warming our faces, a question lingers in the air. What is left when the flames die out? When the last flicker of light fades into the darkness, what will remain? Perhaps the flame is a symbol of our desire for immortality, a burning wish to leave something behind that will never fade. Perhaps it is a symbol of our yearning to touch the divine, to be seen by the gods, to be remembered for all time. But when the flame finally dies, when its light has faded, what is left? Perhaps, in that moment, we are left with nothing but the lingering warmth of a dream, a memory that will fade with the dawn. Some believe that the flame holds the key to the mysteries of the gods, that it holds the answers to questions we have long forgotten to ask. Others say that it is simply a symbol, a human creation, a way for mortals to touch the divine, for just a moment, before returning to the dust. Beneath the silence of the evening sky, the flame flickers like a memory, its light casting long shadows on the earth. It is a symbol of something much greater than the mortal realm, a reminder that even in the quiet of the night, in the stillness of the world, there is always something burning. The flame will burn, it is said, as long as the earth continues to turn, as long as there are those who believe in its power. And even when the flame is no more, its warmth will linger in the hearts of those who have gazed upon it, a soft, eternal echo of a time long past. And so, as we stand before the flame, as the night deepens and the world slips into quiet slumber, we are left with the final question. What is left when the flame dies out? Perhaps the answer lies in the journey itself, in the quiet moments of reflection, in the warmth of a dream that never quite fades. For some, the flame is a reminder of what once was, a beacon of human ambition and desire. For others, it is a symbol of something far greater, a light that burns through time, lighting the way for those who dare to dream. And perhaps, when the flame finally dies, when all that remains is the fading warmth, we will be left with the memory of a journey well taken, of a time when the gods walked among men, and the eternal flame burned brightly at the heart of Olympia. The silence, now deep and complete, offers no answer. Instead, it invites us to rest in the question, to ponder the mysteries that live in the spaces between the light and the dark, between the mortal and the divine. Perhaps it was never meant to be answered, this question of what remains when the flame is extinguished. Perhaps it is enough to simply let the warmth of the dream linger in the stillness, like the soft glow of a flame that never truly fades. In the heart of Jerusalem, a city where history whispers in the stones and the very air is thick with ancient prayers, there is a bell tower that has not tolled for centuries. Beneath the watchful eyes of the towering walls, where the shadows of past kings, prophets, and pilgrims linger, this tower stands silent. The bells, once instruments of divine connection, remain frozen in their metal, unmoved by the hand of time. The air around them is still, as if holding its breath. No ringing sound breaks the silence. What is the story behind this profound quiet? It is said that, long ago, these bells rang with the call of the faithful, the sound of devotion rising like incense into the heavens. Perhaps they were a bridge between the earth and the divine, a reminder of the sacred moments that drew men and women together in prayer. Or were they something more, something older, holding the echoes of a forgotten ritual, one that predated even the prayers of kings and prophets? Some believe that these bells were not merely to announce the hour, but to mark the spaces between time itself. And now, they remain suspended in that moment, where the past and present intertwine, and the silence speaks louder than any sound. As the sun dips below the horizon and the golden light of day fades into the deep shadows of night, the city of Jerusalem transforms. The streets, once bustling with life, now fall quiet under the watchful gaze of the ancient walls. The silence settles heavily, yet gently, over the stones. The moon rises, casting a soft, silver light that glistens on the weathered surfaces of buildings, illuminating the centuries-old carvings and symbols etched into the very fabric of the city. It is in this quiet hour, when the city holds its breath, that the tower rises before us, its silhouette dark against the soft glow of the night. Beneath its shadow, the bells are suspended in time. They no longer call the faithful to prayer, no longer ring out with joy or sorrow, but instead hang still in the cool night air, like forgotten memories. The tower itself seems to hum with a quiet energy, as though it holds the secret of its own silence. The stones, weathered and crumbled by time, seem to hold the imprint of the sound that once filled the air. Now, all is still. No voice, no bell. Only the soft murmur of the wind and the distant call of a night bird. Some say that in the silence of the bells there is a deeper meaning, a message that can only be understood by those willing to listen to the space between the sounds. Perhaps it is a warning, a reminder that the divine is not always loud, that holiness often dwells in the quiet places, in the spaces that we pass by without a second thought. Perhaps it is an invitation to hear not only the echoes of history, but the whispers of what remains unspoken, buried beneath the weight of time. As night deepens and the city sleeps, The bell tower stands watch. It is a sentinel in the darkness, its stillness growing heavier, as though the air itself is thickening with the weight of centuries. The silence grows, wrapping itself around the city like a blanket, until it is hard to tell where the bell tower ends and the world begins. In this stillness, the past and present blur together. The sacred and the mundane are indistinguishable, for in this silence, everything is marked by the same weight, the same timelessness. In the distance, the faint sound of footsteps echoes down an empty alleyway, a fleeting reminder that life continues beyond the shadow of the tower. But here, beneath its quiet gaze, time has come to a halt. The space between the ringing of the bells, that silence, is where history sleeps, where memories fade, and where the mysteries of the divine remain suspended, forever unspoken. Some say that silence holds the deepest truth, that in the absence of sound, we are able to hear what words cannot express. And so, as we stand before the tower, gazing up at its silent form, we too are drawn into the quiet. The very air seems to pulse with an ancient rhythm, the same rhythm that once filled the bells, the same pulse that has echoed through the streets of Jerusalem for centuries. It is said that there are places where history lingers, where the divine whispers, and where silence itself speaks louder than any bell could ever toll. Perhaps, in this sacred silence, we are invited to listen, to hear what has been forgotten, to understand what has been lost to the passage of time. As we stand beneath the shadow of the bell tower, the reflection lingers like the faintest trace of sound, carried on the wind. What truths remain unspoken in the places where history sleeps, and where silence reigns supreme? What echoes of the divine still linger in the quiet corners of this ancient city, waiting to be heard by those who are willing to listen? Perhaps these bells, like the memories of the past, are meant to remain silent. Perhaps the silence itself is the message, a reminder that not all things can be understood, not all things can be known. Perhaps the bells were never meant to be heard again. Perhaps their silence is not a loss, but a gift that calls us to pause, to listen, and to seek the meaning in the spaces between the sounds. For in those spaces, it is said, the divine speaks to us most clearly. And so, as we close our eyes and drift into the stillness of night, we leave behind the question, unspoken and unanswered. For some questions, perhaps, are meant to remain in the silence, where they cannot be heard, but only felt. The bells may never ring again, but the silence they leave behind will echo in our hearts forever. High in the Peruvian Andes, veiled beneath a constant shroud of mist, the ancient city of Machu Picchu rests like a sacred secret, whispered only to the mountains. Carved from the very stone of the earth, it stands, its walls as silent and watchful as the peaks themselves. The very air around it vibrates with mystery, as though the stones themselves hold the weight of ages, the stories of those who once walked these paths, now lost to time. There is a certain stillness here, a sacred hush, as if the land is holding its breath. It is said that in the days when the Inca civilization flourished, this place was not merely a city, but a sanctuary, a temple, a citadel of the gods themselves. The people who built Machu Picchu were masters of stone, carving with precision and grace, shaping the earth to mirror the heavens. Yet, even as their hands shaped the stones, they were guided by forces beyond the mortal realm. Who were the guardians of this sacred place? Whispers tell us they were not mere men, but beings who stood between the world of the living and the divine. The keepers of the citadel, entrusted with its secrets, its rituals, and its mysteries, guarded not just the city but the very knowledge that flowed through the veins of the Inca. As the sun sets behind the mist-covered mountains, the world of Machu Picchu begins to shift. The golden light of the fading day spills over the ancient stone, casting long shadows that stretch like the arms of forgotten deities, reaching towards the unseen. The wind stirs the air, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and the soft whisper of something ancient, something that has not been heard by human ears for centuries. It is the wind of the Andes, an old wind that knows the names of all who have passed before. As it weaves through the stone walls, it carries with it fragments of stories of warriors, priests, and sages who once stood in this place, gazing toward the horizon, seeking the stars. And so, the journey into Machu Picchu begins, not as a physical passage, but as a spiritual one. With each step along the narrow stone paths, the weight of history presses gently upon the soul. The walls seem to breathe with the memories of the past, and the stones, though weathered by centuries, still hold an undeniable presence. As the sun dips lower, its light softening into the deep purples and oranges of twilight, the city feels both timeless and eternal. The mountain peaks that surround it rise like sentinels, their ancient faces watching over the ruins as they have done for centuries, ever still, ever silent. In the stillness of the night, when the shadows deepen and the air cools, the forgotten voices of the Inca begin to stir. Their stories are not told in words, but in the wind that sighs through the stone, in the way the light falls upon the terraces, in the faint rustling of leaves high in the trees. These voices are not loud, but subtle, woven into the very fabric of the land. The mysteries of Machu Picchu, it is said, are hidden, not in the obvious places, but in the spaces between the spaces that are too quiet to hear, the places where time folds in upon itself. Perhaps it is here, in these silent places, that the true wisdom of the Inca lies. Perhaps it is here that we find the true guardians, those who have watched over this sacred site, not with eyes, but with the unseen forces that bind the earth to the heavens. As night fully settles over the mountains, the stars begin to emerge in the vast Andean sky. They twinkle softly, like ancient eyes, watching from above. The city of Machu Picchu, bathed in silver moonlight, seems to pulse with a life of its own, as though the stones themselves are alive, moving ever so slightly in response to the cosmic dance of the stars. It is in this moment of quiet reflection that we are reminded of the profound connection between the Inca and the cosmos, a connection that can still be felt here, if we are willing to listen. The stones, the terraces, the sacred fountains, they all seem to reach toward the stars, their silent whispers carried on the wind. The journey through Machu Picchu is not just a physical one, it is a journey of the soul. The further we travel into the heart of the city, the more we sense the weight of its mystery, the depth of its silence. The terraces stretch out before us, their sharp edges softened by the mist, their purpose shrouded in the passage of time. The stone walls rise like ancient guardians, their surfaces worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain. But beneath that weathered exterior, there is something unbroken, something eternal. The spirit of Machu Picchu lingers here, not as a fading memory, but as a living presence, still alive in the stones, in the earth, in the mountains themselves. Perhaps it is this spirit, this sacred energy, that called to the guardians of Machu Picchu, the ones who stood watch over the citadel, not merely as protectors of a city, but as keepers of a knowledge that transcends time. Some believe that the Inca did not simply build Machu Picchu, they aligned it with the heavens, mapping the stars onto the earth, creating a place where the sacred and the earthly could meet. It is said that the guardians of Machu Picchu were not merely men, but those who understood the deep rhythms of the universe, the cycles of the stars, the movements of the earth. They stood here as bridges between the world of the living and the world of the divine. As the night deepens and the silence of the mountains wraps itself around the city, the reflection lingers in the stillness. How much of the wisdom of the Inca remains, waiting to be uncovered in the dust of the earth? How much of the knowledge passed down from those who walked this land before us still pulses beneath the surface, waiting to be remembered? In the silence of Machu Picchu, there is a sense of awe, a reverence for the mysteries that remain. For in this sacred place, where the stones speak and the stars listen, we are reminded that some truths are not meant to be uncovered. Some secrets are hidden not in the knowledge itself, but in the quiet spaces that hold them. Perhaps the guardians of Machu Picchu never left. Perhaps they still stand watch, not in the flesh, but in the very spirit of the place. Perhaps, in the silence of the night, they are waiting for us to listen not just to the wind, but to the language of the earth, the language of the stars. For in this sacred place, it is said, the past and the present are never far apart. They are always intertwined, always just within reach. And perhaps, in the silence of these ancient stones, we are invited to hear what has always been there, waiting for us to remember. As the stars shine brightly above, and the mountains stand silent beneath them, we are left with a final thought. How much remains, hidden in the dust of time, waiting for those who are willing to listen. Perhaps it is not for us to know. Perhaps the wisdom of the Inca, like the guardians of Machu Picchu, will remain forever veiled in the mists of the mountains. And perhaps that is exactly how it was meant to be.